Coronado Historical Association unveiled a new exhibit that honors 50 years of freedom for Vietnam POWs.
KUSI's photojournalist Sierra Simonak sat down with some of them to hear their stories.
He came up and looked in our door and he said, hang in there, boys, it'll be over pretty soon. They took us to the airport and we stood in line and they checked our names off and returned and we boarded the airplane. And then they closed the doors and started the engines and we started taxiing. And we sat there very quietly. Finally, we got to the coastline of North Vietnam and a pilot came on the ICS and said, gentlemen, we just passed out of North Vietnamese airspace. And they flew us back to the United States and reunited with our families.
Paul Galante, one of the POWs in Open Doors, coined the phrase, there's no such thing as a bad day when you have a doorknob on the inside of your door. He did a drawing of the door that he wanted open more than any other door. So the original title, Open Doors Vietnam POWs, was born from that.
I was in the Air Force. I was a backseater, so I was an electronic warfare officer in an F-4. I departed for Vietnam in April of '71. We were forward air controller, fast FAC, and we were supposed to mark a target for some LGB bombers, laser-guided bomb, folks to drop on it. And unfortunately, we had to eject from the airplane. When I first ejected, because it was a surprise to me, I went into immediate shock, so I sort of missed the ride down in the parachute. But after I hit the ground, I became aware that there were 6 or 7 guys pointing AK-47s at me. And it took me 5 days to get to the Hanoi Hilton. They put me in a sort of a solitary room, but it was a huge room, and stayed there about 2 weeks. And then they moved me to the zoo, which was their show camp.
My thumb was severely damaged in the missile shoot down. And when they took me to Hanoi Hilton, they used that against me, refusing to give me medical attention until I started answering some of the questions they were asking. I finally couldn't take it anymore, and I started answering questions. And that's when they took me out and amputated my thumb.
This exhibit is about overcoming adversity, offering hope and second chances. And I hope that someone that comes here gets to recognize these men and what they endured, but also is inspired by what they did when they returned home, because they're not bitter. So I hope that people, when they're in here, they're inspired by the stories and take away something that might teach them that no matter how bad your circumstances are, you can get through it. And that's something we've heard from many of the POWs, but particularly Captain Ev Southwick. He said, you know, we were just ordinary men put in extraordinary situations, and you never know what you can get through until you're put in that position.
What an incredible report. I had the chills just
Right?
watching this.
Go see this exhibit. It's free. They'd love it if you throw them a little donation, that's fine, but it's free to go. You read their stories. Oh gosh, I've known Jack for so long. He and my dad were naval aviators together. Meeting Tony, retired Lieutenant Colonel Tony Marshall, who was the other gentleman in the piece there with Jack. But I mean, it is absolutely fantastic. And Sierra, if you're watching, awesome job. We were there yesterday. We did some interviews,
Our
right?
Sierra, what was it like working with her on this?
It was my first time I've ever worked with her. Never rode in a newsman with her. She's awesome. And so she sit there, and we do a couple of hits there with fingers. Jack, who lost his thumb, his call sign, they changed it to fingers for obvious reasons. Kind of humorous. But she says to me, she goes, I got a vision. I know what I'm going to do something with this. This because she's a huge supporter of the military. I said, run with it. If you've got a vision, run with it. And she came here and went to work, and that's how it ended up. And just awesome. She really encapsulated it awesome. But there's one thing If you drive onto Naval Air Station North Island, there's an A4 Skyhawk up on a Skyhawk on a stick. The name on the canopy rail is Vice Admiral James Stockdale. He was the leader of all of those POWs at the Hanoi Hilton. He was the point man. And for that leadership, he received the Congressional Medal of Honor. You walk in, and right next to Tony's pajamas, those were his pajamas, in the case is the open logbook of James Stockdale. And when military aviators fly combat missions, they log it in green ink. And my dad's got the same thing in his, lots of green ink. And then on the other page in red, it says eject, which he included in that. And it was that ejection that led to him going into captivity and everything that happened at the Hanoi Hilton, and ultimately his being a recipient of the Medal of Honor. So anyway, it's free. It's there till September 15th. Go see it. It's amazing, the stories you'll read.
Well, thank you for bringing the story to us.
Thank you,
That's
Sierra.
incredible.
God, what a great job.